What's up? It's the MMA Fight Club on Spreaker.com. Coming to you live from Jacksonville, Florida at Studio 1B. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Trevor back with another podcast in your life. Nate-Diaz feels disrespected by the UFC. Fans making ridiculous excuses for Conor McGregor's loss. Nate-Diaz, he says, Nate-Diaz sounds okay. Nate-Diaz doesn't sound happy for a guy who allegedly made millions of dollars choking out Conor McGregor at UFC 196. The upset in which helped Diaz ranking, but he's not exactly basking in the glory of a high-profile fight. I feel. And it's what Diaz says. I feel like, honestly, the UFC wants to weed me the F out. This position, Diaz told ESPN.com, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. Sorry, I feel like that. A lot of people are coming at me. I see them making a lot of excuses for Conor McGregor. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I don't think it's just the UFC. It's everybody saying, oh, McGregor, he's a great fighter. He accepted the loss like a man. If I would have lost, people would be saying, you piece of shit, you shouldn't have accepted the fight on 10 days' notice. I don't mean to be bitter, but there's a lot of excuses being made for this guy. He talks about winning the first round. There's 5 rounds in a fight. Who gives a shit if you won the first round of UFC 196? You lost, baby. Conor McGregor tells TMZ earlier this week that he'd be interested in possibly a rematch with Diaz at some point. The UFC featherweight champion claims he won the majority of the 9 minutes of the bout before Diaz sunk in a rear naked choke later in the second round. Diaz sounds more interested in a rematch with lightweight Rafael dos Anjos, who scored a unanimous decision victory over Diaz in a catchweight fight back in 2014. I'm thinking probably the lightweight title fight. However, it's biggest, whoever is biggest, Diaz said. The biggest thing with Lawler and GSP, I would have been all about those fights. But is coming back, and those fights are for him. Those are Nick Diaz's fights. I'm not trying to step on his shoes. We'll see how things play out. As far as a rematch goes, I lost, so I want to redeem my rematch with Rafael dos Anjos. I'm not asking for anything. I'm demanding more than everybody. I want more than everybody. Straight up, money talks. I want the biggest fights. Whoever I've got to fight, the biggest shows, the biggest paydays. That's what I want. And that's the truth, He's basically breaking down that a lot of people are still saying, well, Conor McGregor was a tough dude. He went up there and he almost won the whole fight, but he just made a mistake and gassed out. He is right. If he would have lost, I guarantee you Dana and Lorenzo Fertitta would have said the same thing. Nate sucks. He sucks. Because look at it this way. Nate Diaz was ranked at number 3 in the UFC's ranking, and I think he got caught with marijuana or whatever it was a year ago, and they took him off the rankings. And the UFC has always been bad about this kid. This kid comes to show up, he fights, he talks a little bit of trash, but they paid him $20 to win and $20 bonus. So he made $40,000, which is to me after taxes is probably $30,000 or something, which is still pretty good, I think. But he had to fight Conor McGregor, the guy who's the UFC's main star, the guy who talks a lot, the guy who gets UFC money, and the guy who the UFC kind of played safe. They kind of did, because they never gave him a high-level wrestler, and they seen what happened when they gave him a high-level wrestler in Chad Mendes. He took him down at will, and then you see what happened when he fought Diaz, which is a high-level grappler. He got choked out. I don't know why they're not giving him Frankie Edgar. You know, that's Frankie's fight. Frank deserves this fight. If you don't believe me, I posted a thing on Twitter. In Frankie Edgar's last 8 fights, he's 5-3. He lost to Benson Henderson twice, which some people could say he beat Benson Henderson. I think he beat Jose Aldo in 2013. Then he goes on to beat Charles Oliveira, BJ Penn for a third time, beating Cub Swanson, Uriah Faber, and Chad Money Mendes. And those guys are a beast. So before he had his loss, he beat BJ Penn at UFC 112. Then at UFC 125, he goes on and beats BJ Penn again. Then has a draw with Gray Maynard. Then fights Gray Maynard again at UFC 136, where he knocks him out. Then losing to Benson twice, Jose, and then, like I said, the list goes on and on. This dude, out of the featherweight title contenders, he's the best dude out there. And they should have gave them the fight after he beat Chad Mendes. I thought they were talking about that. Why would they give Conor McGregor, go fight 170? No, they're not giving him the Frankie fight, because they know Frank will take him down, ground and pound him, and out-wrestle him and beat him. I know Diaz did hell of a good job, but why are they not giving Conor the fight that people are asking for? And when you go to Twitter, even Frankie Edgar saying, and I tweeted this to Frankie Edgar, to Conor McGregor, and to Dana White, says, give Frankie the fight that people want. He should get a title fight for the belt. He's beaten Charles Oliveira, BJ Penn 3 times, and Uriah Faber, Chad Manny Mendez, and Cub Swanson. And just beating BJ 3 times should give him a title fight. And even Frankie on Twitter saying, give the fans what they want. And what the fans want is the fight between Frankie Edgar versus Conor McGregor. People want to see that. I don't know why people are saying, well, he'll knock out Frankie. Well, if after only 2-week training camp or 1-week training camp from Chad Mendes, he took Conor McGregor down at will, who's to say Conor McGregor doesn't have great jiu-jitsu? Maybe he has good jiu-jitsu against people that are not high-level grapplers or high-level wrestlers, but I still think if that fight happens, I would still think Frankie has the ability to win. Frankie could take a hell of a punch. Frankie has a heart of a warrior, and you can't fuck with a heart, man. Heart is where it is. And for these people to basically do it to Nate-Diaz, and it's funny because even Rory McDonald is saying, I'm super happy for Nate-Diaz now making the real money. He deserves this money. And the UFC was playing games with this guy. He deserves to get $100,000 or more per fight. But people are saying, why isn't Frankie getting the fight that he deserves? Me personally, as an MMA fan, I think that's the only guy they can give him. And I understand they would say, well, the guy who had 10-year reign as the featherweight champion, Jose Aldo, deserves a title fight. How is that compelling? Because you beat a guy in 13 seconds. There's no compellingness unless Jose Aldo goes and beats somebody, and then they say, okay, he's the next guy in line. It's the same thing happening with Tyron Woodley. They're always passing him by to give somebody else a title fight. Tyron Woodley's online saying, give me the title fight. I'm a title champion. I'm a guy who needs a title. I'm the next guy in line. Give me the title fight. It's like when Conor McGregor says, hey, I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. He gets the fight, but when somebody like Frankie Edgar or Tyron Woodley tries to step up and say, hey, give me a fight, they're like, no, because they know those guys would probably win. I think Tyron Woodley deserves a title fight. He's really, really deserving. I'll look him up right now. When you go back, Tyron Woodley MMA record, and his record stands at 15 wins, 3 losses. And in his last 4 fights, he's had 1 loss. He lost to Rory McDonald. He beat Josh Koscheck, Carlos Condit by Carlos' leg being messed up. Then he lost to Rory McDonald at UFC 174. Then he beat Dong Hung Kim at UFC Fight Night 48. And then he beat Kevin Gastelum at UFC 183. So he hasn't fought since January of 2015. The same fight card that Silva versus Diaz was on. And at the end of the day, this dude deserves a title fight. He's been on a tear, man. This guy is a beast. 15-3, and you're not going to give him a title fight. Why? I don't. Sometimes it seems like the UFC plays games. They'll give guys repeatedly title fights, and like I think coming up pretty soon is going to be Uriah Faber versus Dominic Cruz again. Come on, I don't want to see that. That is boring. That is completely garbage. Okay, they had their 1-1. Uriah Faber was the first loss against Dominic. It doesn't matter. The fight doesn't need to happen. You need to put on fights that the fans want to see. And like I said, even Frankie Edgar is online saying, give me the title fight. Give the fans what they want. And that is the 150% truth. Like he says right here in a tweet that I retweeted, says, Frankie Edgar, hey, Lorenzo, Dana White, give the fans what they want and what I deserve. This is my time. And then he tweets at Conor McGregor, step up and take the fight. And I really agree with that. Step up and take the fight. That's what it should be. You should be taking the fight. It should be Frankie Edgar versus Conor McGregor, UFC 200. All these fights that are popping up at UFC 200 don't even sound like it's going to be a massive fight card, to be honest with you. But I don't know if all these rumors that are coming up, it should be this fight card. It should be like this one says, Frankie Edgar versus Conor McGregor, which should happen. GSP versus Robbie Lawler for the featherweight or for the welterweight title. I don't know why GSP would come back. I don't know. Rafael dos Anjos versus Nate-Diaz. Then you have Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo, which Max Holloway went 3 rounds with Conor McGregor. And then Anderson the Spider Silva versus Tim Kennedy. The Tim Kennedy Anderson Silva fight, not that great. Jose Aldo, I think should get another fight, but let me know what you guys think.